when you look at softness, what often comes forward is many of our fears around the image or concept of softness. There can be a confusion that softness is close to weakness or helplessness or vulnerability. That if we are in softness, then we can be more deeply hurt. That we would be unsafe. On the other side of the polarity, we have the concept of strength. Which means that we don't get hurt, that we are safe, that nothing can damage us, that we don't have our direction changed, that we don't care about what other people think about us, because we're strong, we stand for ourselves. So this is a polarity which plays out in a lot of our ways of relating socially, which is totally okay. It's the game. What's less helpful is how this polarity plays out in terms of our inner world and our attitudes towards ourselves. And as with every polarity, it's caught in an idea that it's either this or that. I'm either soft or I'm strong. I'm either vulnerable or I'm invulnerable. I can't be hurt. And this polarity is in itself a confusion, because every polarity, such as softness and strength, without strength there is no softness, and without softness there is no strength. If you think about it, softness would only ever be possible or even necessary or needed if there is a strength behind it. You know, if we were vulnerable and helpless and weak and fluttering, then there would be no need for softness. Softness comes forward when we have an incredible sense of our own strength and we begin to make contact with another person or with an aspect of ourselves. And there's a need to slow down and to move more gently. And what you see in that slowdown, so we have this strength of pure existence. Here I am, totally, and I'm going into a meditation. And here is a block, a feeling of something stuck. And here is my existence, so I can go, and with all of my consciousness, go boom into the block, explode it. And what will probably happen is the block will reform itself after that. For a while it will be exploded, and then it will come back. With softness, the strength slows down in time, and at the point of touching the block, there is much greater sensitivity and allowance. There is much more ability to penetrate. It's the difference between being slapped and being stroked. When we stroke something gently or touch it gently with softness, there's a responsiveness. There's a lot more opened up. So we can talk about what's opened up by softness. In physical matter, the atom is 99.99999, I have to get to 12 nines, 99.99999% empty. So on the physical level, when an atom touches an atom, or when we touch ourselves or another person in a therapeutic context, there is this tiny, tiny, tiny boundary which is actually more dense. The rest is emptiness, touching emptiness. And the question comes forward, what is in the emptiness? The emptiness is not empty. And this is where the miracle or healing possibility is there on the physical, because there's peace and there's love there. And there's also a unity between the emptiness of one atom and the emptiness of another. So in the softness of the touch, the softer the touch, the thinner the membrane between atoms, and the more possibility there is to awaken the purity of what's in the emptiness. And that's where physical healing is happening. When it comes to the area of feeling and emotion, anger, boredom, pain, frustration, longing, loneliness, all of these feelings, it's the same principle. When we approach them with softness, which is always allowing, then there is much more loosening of the border around, the thin shell around, and the meeting point of the peace and love with the peace and love within the feeling, which means that the possibility of transformation is much more there. And the area of the mind and consciousness, where we create our realities, we imagine ourselves into a self. Softness is also very, very important. There's a great weakness in the strength that says this is the truth, this is the reality, the only one. My thoughts are the thoughts. This is a kind of mask of strength. It's not a real strength. There is a much deeper strength in the softness, which can see many different truths, many different perspectives, that no thought or even image is absolute. And this is reflected in language. You see somebody hear somebody talk about themselves, and they say, everybody thinks that I am weak. There is no such, this is a reality, an illusion which is formed as a kind of self-hypnosis and re-hypnotized within the head as a truth, and it's really not true. It's an absolute, everybody, even a child thinks you're weak. Even the little kitten that you hold thinks you're weak. The Duke you just killed thought you were weak. Everybody thinks I'm weak. So in softness, also on the level of mind, there is much more mental freedom allowed. Also this is true, and also this is true, and it's reflected in the language. Right now, it seems that I'm behaving weak. Right now, it seems to me that the reality is this, right now. Sometimes I get this feedback that I'm weak. There's a relativity which is there, which comes forward from the softness. And the ability to move with that kind of softness of mind is coming from a much deeper strength, which is anchored in the fact of our existence. And our existence is never compromised, it's always free. It's never hurt, it's never damaged. At the end of our lives, we will see that all of this happening and this game and this play and all that was and all that was said and all that was done really had no impact whatsoever on our existence. It was something else which was going on. We were always free within that. This is the strength which can allow the softness when coming into the physical form, emotional form, mental form. And I won't get into couples because I could talk about it for ages. You take the simple example of touch. The softer we are, the more sensitive we are, the more there is responsiveness, the more of a blend is possible. Because there is no threat in blending. In allowing that. And this is part of the art of being blending, merging into one. In a space behind cause and effect and time. We're always one at the basis, but We're also in separate forms, physically, for now, emotionally, in terms of the service that we're doing. And in blending, there's the possibility of sharing the levels which are coming forward out of existence, which is always a good thing. It's always mutually beneficial. We share so much. We share, our consciousness is shared, a big part of our consciousness. You look at countries, you see there's a whole field of shared consciousness. Our awareness is shared. There's a noise suddenly out on the street, so in the awareness of all of us. On the physical, the water in our bodies is vibrating, whether or not we want it, totally at the same rate according to the noise or according to the music. We share so much more than we think. So blending is part of the allowance of that.
Thank you.
When we look at water, we see that there's water in everything in physical matter. We see that there's water in terms of water as we know it, the sea, the rain, and going to the water thing because of the rain. And there's water in steam, in the gases, in the air. There's 3 states of water. Water is an example of an element which is very soft. So it's a good example of softness, and through softness, transformation through those 3 levels is very much possible. So we start at the ID, which is a point around 30 centimeters above the head. It doesn't matter, but if you move upwards with your awareness, or consciousness, and imagine there's a kind of little star here or something. We move around the aura as if you could actually visualize ourselves to be a planet. The planet would be relevant. And imagine a warm Chashymie, a wind. Chashymie in the sense that pleasant warm, in the sense that what's pleasant to you. A warm wind blowing from the left around the aura, like a circle around yourself, but you can also move forwards or backwards, but at least on the horizontal, down into the earth and up, to follow the aura as if it was a warm wind. If you meet crunchy stuff or blocks or something stops it, use the image of the wind in the sense that you can blow through it or blow over it, like the wind blows over a mountain, or sink into it to really become one with it and move on. It's a loving wind. It's important to say. It's not a cruel wind, but I think you get that with the lukewarm thing. So that's the way to meet with any blocks. Don't get entangled with them, just blow as if it was the wind going over the surface of the planet. Then we breathe in and move down to the Hara chakra, which is basically an area of feeling, how it feels, just whatever you're feeling in the area below the pubic, the whole pelvic area. And choose to contemplate or evoke or invite the feeling either of softness or of strength. And stay with whatever comes forward in terms of feeling. If an image comes forward, try and feel the atmosphere of it. If anger comes forward, it's absolutely fine. Try and experience it, even take off the word anger or any stories, just try and feel what's in it, what's within it, move into it with softness. You often find some deep resources there. So either softness or strength. Then we move upwards to the heart area, the whole chest area. Breathe with the warm wind, as if we were absolutely hollow here, And in the breathing, we bring in love like this, out the other side, let it go, as if there's an infinite space there, not as if. And when we breathe out, back again. But to pass through is like a warm wind in the inner and outer breathing. And again to bring forward the contemplation on softness and strength, either or both. What often happens if you choose one, you get the other. And within that, whatever comes forward, go with it. Don't stick to the instructions. And then with the music, allow the music. It's a bit of a strange music, not their normal type. Allow it to allow the body and the breathing to surrender to the music, knowing that anyway it's responding whether or not we're following it with our consciousness or awareness, that the body is resonating with it. So in a way the music is playing us physically, so allow the music to play us. Just allow what's happening anyway.